Right, let's get kicked off then. So week 5, second to last week that we're together on this 6-week boot camp. I don't want to start summarizing, but I'm almost getting like reflective of how it's gone, but I shouldn't do that. We'll do that next week. But I'm really loving spending time with you all and hearing the things you're putting in place in your life, hearing how that's making you feel, and some of the results starting to change as well. It's so feels so appreciative. I think the word grateful, I have to pause because it's a bit overused, isn't it? But I feel just really appreciative to be part of it and supporting where I can. And I think you're all doing incredibly well. And, you guys, it's this, you guys are the same core bunch. There's a few people who can't make all of the sessions, and there are some people who haven't been able to join at all. So again, you're on week 5 and you're committed, and you should be feeling really good about that, continuing to feel really good about that. So who knows this lady? It's Sarah Blakely. Well, you know the name now. I actually didn't know who she was until about maybe a year ago when I was part of a seminar when she was mentioned. She's a billionaire. She was known, I think it was Forbes who said she was the first self-made female billionaire. And a previous job was selling fax machines. And I love this quote. I was just researching a bit more about her, and I saw this quote, and she said she was selling fax machines, and she said to herself, "I'm in the wrong movie. This is not my life." And I think that looking back, that's probably a statement you can make retrospectively. To make that in the moment, though, could be painful, couldn't it? If you suddenly realize I'm in the wrong movie, this is not my life. I mean, I don't know if that happens when it comes to midlife crisis. You get to 40 or 50 or 60, whatever age we want to get to that point, and you might have several. And I think you kind of start to question and wonder. And if that shows up for you, it might not be as dramatic as I'm not in the right life, I'm not in the right movie. But it's never a bad thing to pause and take stock and just make sure your life's on the right path, because you want to make change. If it's not, you've got time to do something about it. Then, for me, the worst thing ever would be to live with regret. So to kind of think, I had an opportunity, or I had an idea, or I had an impulse to maybe invest in myself, invest in something, do something different, pivot my life, and I ignored it. And then another 5 years go by, and then you feel, and then does it feel easier 5 years later or harder? It's always harder, isn't it? The people I speak to, well, my own husband, right, he's 41, and I met him when we were in our 20s. And he said to me when we met, "I'm a BT engineer, but I'm leaving in the next year or two." And he left BT this year. So he was there pretty much 20 years. And every time there was an option to take voluntary redundancy, I used to say, take it. And he wouldn't. And he got himself retrained, and he's now a fine furniture maker. And he took control, and he did it in his own way, in a sensible way. But I say to him, when I said that to you when you were 30, do you really wish you made that change then? And he says, well, of course, yes, of course he does. He'd have 10 years more of time served as a fine furniture maker. But at the same time, I don't think we can beat ourselves up for those decisions, because I think we're always where we're meant to be. We are always where we're meant to be. So I've got to trust, and Mark's got to trust that that's right for him. Maybe it was his emotional maturity, his life experience, his children's age, whatever it was. But it's always a good time to check. And by the way, she's holding up Spanx, the product, in case you didn't know. I'm assuming everybody knows what she invented. She was in white trousers, and she didn't like the panty line. She wanted to be able to wear white trousers and not see the underwear. So she cut off some tights and went and used those like makeshift. And then that led to Spanx and the multi-billion-dollar company that she now runs and owns. And the other interesting thing that I love, obviously doing what I do, about Sarah, is she attributes a lot of her success, get this, to listening to a program by Dr. Wayne Dyer while she was 16 years old. And she said, Wayne Dyer, if you probably know him, if you don't, he was a leader, thinker on all things human potential, growth, power of the mind, on body health and results. and she was listening to his program when she was 16. And people told her that she was crazy to go for this idea, which when it's a great idea, it's often the one that people tell you you're crazy to go for. And she knew that it wasn't the outside circumstances or the people in her external environment and what they said. From the fact that she'd listened to Wayne Dyer's program over and over again, she knew that it was an inside job. She knew that it was the power of, she had infinite potential. She knew about how to tap into her higher mental faculties. And she's like one of the most successful entrepreneurs ever. Now then, let's talk about progress. I really want you to tune in, if you can. Just tune in. What do we mean by progress? And why are we here? And I'm going to demonstrate this with this little picture and a couple of more to come. So you might recognize this as Lego. Lego was founded in 1932, and this was the first thing they produced, just a simple 2x2 brick. And all you could do was stack it on top of each other and stack different colors together. So when you look at that and you look at 1932, and then bring a picture of into your mind about what Lego means to you today. I love Lego. I love the brand. I love building it. And if you've ever been into a Lego shop or Legoland today, think of the progress between these couple of blocks, somebody's idea to build this couple of blocks, to Durham Cathedral made out of Lego in 2016. How did we get from there to there? And this is the point I want to demonstrate with this example. I don't know if anybody's seen that. Every time I go to Durham regularly because it's close, but I go to the cathedral 2 or 3 times a year, and I always go and stare in wonder at the amazing structure of this. It's unreal. The stained glass window is unbelievable. So from 2x2 bricks to this, Lego for me is a really great demonstration of progress, just progress. Because as human beings, we're here to progress. You know, if we can run, we want to be able to run faster. We never want to stand still as a human being. We're always looking to grow, to expand. If we earn some money, we want to earn a bit more money. If we have a job, we usually want to climb to the next step on the career ladder. It's in our DNA. It's who we are as human beings. There's nothing wrong with always striving. There's kind of a paradigm, a social belief almost in some societies that to want more and progress and to advance is somehow greedy, or that you're not satisfied, or that you shouldn't want more. And imagine if the founder of Lego said, let's just stick with the 2x2 bricks and leave it at that. It's a really simple example, but it's like anything you can look at. Let's just stick at the bicycle. That gets us around fine. You can just ride on 2 wheels. We don't need a motor car. We don't need anything that can fly us into the sky. Let's just stick with the 2 wheels we've got. It's not in us as human beings. And when you look at the Lego story and see how they got from 1932 all the way through to 2020, they started with the bricks. 1961, the first wheels enabled Lego vehicles for the very first time. I mean, imagine that. Then the first sets. So now we know the sets are the norm, but 1966, the first set. Then they went into boats and houses, and then, advanced into rockets and castles. And then they had a period of decline. And I put this in because I have a personal connection to Lego, and I'll tell you why. So they had a period of decline. You'll see the graph. Where it starts to pick up again is after 2004. And in one of my careers, I was in outsourcing, and we met with Lego because they were asking for a company to provide call center agents to do chat for their online gaming. So they'd have kids in the computer game of Lego, and they wanted somebody to do the inline chat. It's like part of the computer game. And in order to bid for this RFP, this proposal, we got this brilliant overview of Lego. They're a beautiful company. Their values are amazing. But you know what? Their focus then was we had better get ahead of the kind of technology and computer gaming, because we don't see a future in the Lego physical bricks because kids are only wanting computer games. I don't know how that moved on from that point on. I think that was about like 2008 I was involved with them. But if you look at Lego now, like it's had the best ever year, best ever 10 years, I think. The best growth ever, the things they can do. We went to Legoland this year just before the lockdown. You can get an actual 3D portrait of your own face in Lego. The football stadiums. I've got Friends, Friends Central Park. I've got the Lego movie set of that, like the TV set. It's just incredible. So from 2x2 bricks to Durham Cathedral and portraits and whole cities built out of Lego. It just demonstrates progress. So when it comes to your own life, why would you stop? Why would you stop and say, right, I've learned all I'm going to learn. I've kind of progressed myself out as far as I want to progress. And pretty much where I am right now is where I'll stay. Now, you might say, no, that's not me. I always want to do a bit better. But why not do a lot better? Because now we're going to explore your potential. And human beings are for expansion, right? We're not here to sit and maintain the status quo. If you were in any way spiritual, you will know that we are actually spiritual beings living inside a physical body. And if spirit is always for expansion, it's always for fuller and broader expression. That's what we're here to do. That's what our mind is here to do, express itself, expand. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's when we're most alive. So if you think, well, just boil this down for me, let's simplify it. When am I most alive? When am I most excited? When am I most fired up? When am I most energized? When am I most highest vibration? It's when I'm growing and expanding and expressing myself as a human being. When you're creating something, whether you're creating something, physical, or you're creating something with your imagination and you're moving towards it to try to bring that into your life, that's when you guys, you've got 2 or 3 of you creating podcasts, creating business opportunities, creating experiences for the guys in travel. You are creative beings here to expand and express continuously. So you should always be looking to do that. And if ever you feel, that's why we get stuck. Sometimes I speak to people and they say, there's nothing really wrong with any part of my life. I have roughly enough money, I have my health, and I've got a lot to be thankful for, which is perfect. But they're just stuck, or they're not happy, or they're on a hamster wheel, or it's mundane. And you want something to change, but you don't know what it is. That was kind of me. I wanted something to change, but I just didn't know what it was. And sometimes we kind of sit around and wait for like the outside world to change for us. We think, well, if my job changes or my industry changes, as opposed to taking control and going, right, what do I want? And it doesn't matter how old we are. It absolutely, this word retirement should be banned, because we might retire from a particular profession or a particular calling or a particular way to spend our time. But we got used to like the word retirement mean I'm going to stop or I'll stop doing something that's called work and I'll do something that's maybe called a hobby. Well, none of that matters as long as you're continuing to grow and expand and express yourself. Because when you retire, you kind of don't actually stand still. You go backwards, don't you? You see it all the time. People retire and they're on so many levels. If they're not somebody who does, I don't know, have golf or gardening, or they want to travel, or they've got a creative avenue to explore, you don't see them thrive as human beings, do you? You see them kind of go the other way, which is sad. So when this notion of, I'm too old for something, you're only too old when you die. Because why would you stop expressing yourself just because of age? If anything, when you get older, you're more equipped, more experienced, more life experience. You've had time to read more, study more. And let's look at your potential then. So before I talk about what this slide is trying to express to you, just maybe close your eyes for a second and bring to your mind your own goal, if you've got one. If you're playing around with one, bring that to your mind. Now just ask yourself a question. Does it feel easily achievable? Or does it feel a bit scary? Does it feel like it's going to represent personal expression and growth? Or is it just something you've settled for because you want to set a goal that you think you can have? You've set a goal based on your expectation of you today. So this is the way most people set goals, right? And we're trained to do this. It's not a criticism, it's just what we do. We look at our experience and maybe our intellect and knowledge and what we think our skills and capabilities are. And then we go, what have I done in the past and what am I doing right now? Based on all those things, what do I think I can achieve? And that's how we set a goal. Can you see the absolute craziness in setting a goal like that? But that's how we do it. The craziness in setting a goal like that is, what's it based on? It's based on your experiences of the past, and it's based on what's happening right now. If you're setting a goal like that, it has nothing to do with who you're going to become in the future, what is infinitely possible for you. So you're baking limitation right into your goal. Now, I'm not saying ignore your experience, because that's powerful. You'll have great experiences and knowledge and things you've studied to bring to you of today. But don't let that limit your thinking. That should really be the last thing you think about. Really, the only question should be, what do I want? The reason that gets difficult, though, is because we've got a mind that's programmed with ideas about who we are. But if you look at this potential slide now, right, I mentioned this last week because it blows my mind. This is Elon Musk prototype. No, I think this is a real one. Whether it's a prototype or the real picture, this is Elon Musk building tunnels underground in LA to solve the traffic problem. So Elon Musk is a human being. You're a human being. We're born with the same mind. He might have done a different degree. I'm sure he did. He might have several degrees and we might not. Regardless of that, if you look at what that is for a goal, that kind of goal, and then you look at your own goal, does your goal feel challenging and stretching, and does it feel like it's going to expand you as a human being, or are you playing it safe? And if you have set what you believe's a big goal, how scary does it feel when you look at the fact that some people are building tunnels to travel cars around underneath a city? You see, there's no difference between people who are building airplanes and doing things that maybe we look outside and say, that's amazing, you know, Sarah Blakely, she must be an amazing entrepreneur. They are different people. They're not. We are all born exactly the same. We all have infinite potential. All the scientists agree we don't use anywhere near 10% of our potential. So even if you, with your own limited thinking, so not only do we not use 10% of our potential to start with, we layer on what we think is possible, what we think we're capable of, how far we think we can go, and then we set a goal based on that. So how low are we shooting? And we typically set goals to avoid failure, don't we? Play it safe to avoid failure. So when you think about your goal, this whole thing is about people have asked me through this bootcamp, what kind of goal should I set? And we had it on the Q&A last week. We talked about goals. You should be setting a goal that you really want. So it sparks that desire in you, but you don't know how to achieve it. Your only question needs to be, do I really want it? If the answer is a massive yes, then you know you've got the desire. And the reason we say you shouldn't know how to achieve it, because if that's the case, if you know how to achieve it, where's the growth? Where's the expression? Where's the expansion? There isn't any. So, and if you know how to achieve it and there's no expansion and expression, there's no juice, there's no desire, there's no fulfillment. So you say, well, how can I set a goal that I don't know how to achieve? That's part of the fun, isn't it? Elon Musk didn't know all of the intricacies of how he was going to make these tunnels happen. Well, he just had the idea. And he couldn't wait till he had all the answers before he started. He just had the idea and set the goal. So when you think about yourself, it can be really easy to say, yeah, but it's okay for some people. They are different, they were born in a different environment. They have different talents, different capabilities. But really, we all have the same computer system, right? And I'm going to refer to our mind as a computer system, because I think this sometimes simplifies what we're trying to say. Now, the computer system of your mind, your brain, I read a stat that I didn't even know this number existed. It performs 10 quadrillion functions a second automatically. So it keeps your heart beating. You don't sit here and go, I need to consciously remind my heart to beat. I need to consciously make sure my blood stays at the absolute perfect temperature to keep me alive. I need to consciously think about how to digest food. That's just 3 of 10 quadrillion functions that happen automatically without us even realizing. So it's such a powerful system. I guess the challenge is when we think we're choosing something and we have free will, we actually don't. Because 96 to 98% of everything you do all day, every day, happens without you really consciously choosing. You might think you're consciously choosing to do the things you're doing, but most of it, you have this computer system, and what's it programmed with? It's programmed with the ideas that you received as a child and through your conditioning to this point. And all of those ideas then, those ideas are think of them as the computer program. So like if you've got an iPhone and it's on version, I don't know what version I'm on, right? And a new app comes out and you can't get the new app until you upgrade to the next version. I can't expect this phone to do something it's not programmed to do. It won't do it. So if you think of your mind in the same way, if your mind isn't programmed to do certain things because the ideas are not there, or there's things you want that don't match the ideas that are there, you'll never do it. Because you're only really choosing 2 to 4% consciously of all the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. Now, I've said this before, this is powerful because you need automatic. You need to be able to drive a car. You need to be able to brush your teeth, pick up a pen, write your name. But then what about the things that are habitually there that are keeping us in a position, keeping us behaving in a certain way that's giving us the results we don't want? So a result we do want is to be able to get in our car, put the key in and drive it without killing ourselves or anybody else. A result we might not want is eating the food that keeps our weight heavier than we want it to be. Believe in a certain level of confidence that keeps us locked into a life or a career or a day-to-day existence that limits our true potential. And it's just because of an idea about confidence. So you will never go beyond where you believe you can go, where you're programmed to go. And this is what's so interesting for me because, if you think about like salespeople, right? If anybody's I think most people on this call will know what I mean when I say you've got salespeople who are trained with a sales process, right? So you send 10 people on a sales training process and they all learn the same process and they all come back and they start selling the exact same product using the exact same process. But some people do really, really well and some continue to do lowest in the rankings. Why is that? They've got the same knowledge, they've got the same process to follow. Why are their results different from somebody else? The salesperson knows to pick up a phone and make the call. They know how to overcome an objection, but the difference is the people who are not doing it are not programmed to do it. Their computer system says, I'm not comfortable with that. So they won't do it. They might consciously be able to push themselves for a couple of days. But then when it comes to the automatic program kicks in, they stop focusing on, I've just had that sales training. It said I need to phone 10 people by 10 a.m. and it said I need to overcome objections in doing these 3 things. You might do that for a week while you're consciously focusing on it. But if you've got ideas that say, I don't really like doing this, I don't see myself as a salesperson, this feels uncomfortable, and I'd rather not pick up the phone at 9 o'clock, Eventually, the willpower will always let you down, and the programmed ideas will keep you doing what you've always done automatically over and over and over again. Now, this might sound like really doom and gloom, thinking, all right, great, I've got this program, like I'll just keep locked into my current results. For me, this is the most exciting part of it, because when you realize that that's what's happening, the top sales performer is performing really well because he's got his programming to match the results he wants. He's got the ideas about what it takes to be a salesperson and the behaviors and thoughts and feelings he's going to have about that, the ideas about that. He's got them matching the results he wants. So when it comes to people who you look at and you think, oh my God, a billionaire-ess, an entrepreneur, Elon Musk and his tunnels, people who got building rockets, just people who are in your industry doing better than you. Doesn't even have to be building rockets, right? Somebody who you look at and you think, I'd love to be doing better, whether it's financially, whether it's physically, whatever it is. The exciting part is the only thing is your computer program is different to theirs. And you can change the computer program. We talked about this last week. You can change that tape that's got you running on automatic. And when you do that, when you learn how to do that and you get it matching the thing that you want, this is what can be really, really transformational really, really quickly. And I've got examples of people I'm working with where that is absolutely showing up for them. They're like surprised. They're like, these things are showing up really, really quickly. I've never known it before. If you imagine it is a computer system, upgrade the program, it can do other things. That's it really. Upgrade your program, you can do other things. That's the simplest way of looking at this. But what's in there? So what are we looking to change then? If you've got this, what are we looking to upgrade? Well, when you go to set this big goal, right? So I'm saying set a goal you don't know how to achieve and you really want it, I don't know, quadruple your income, get the house you want, whatever it is. Set up a business, set up a side hustle, change your career, go for a promotion. This shows up, doesn't it? What if I fail? I don't want to be greedy. It's going to be really hard. Shouldn't I be satisfied with where I am? I don't want to lose what I've got. Who is little old me? There's a thing in my family, and it really makes me smile. I'm kind of known as our little Lorna because I was like one of the youngest of like lots of cousins, and my parents and my sister still think of me as a little Lorna. And obviously I'm not like limited by that, but on some level, I could think, who am I? I'm just little Lorna. Who am I to think I can have that? If that's a little idea, it doesn't limit me now. Could have done. It's not a limiting idea, but it's an example of something that is something I've been associated with and something I've associated with. I don't know the how. That's a limiting belief. We think, if I don't know the how, forget it. That's what we do, don't we? I want a goal, but I don't know the how. I better forget it then. Or I haven't got the skills, forget it then. That's the fun, find out. Or I'm not that type of person who can ... Now, just let's have a little bit of a chat, and we can talk in the chat. What other limiting beliefs might you see yourself or other people have? What might show up? So Jane, you're saying a limiting belief is not enough time. And if you want to know, well, what are my own limiting beliefs? If you tried it before and it didn't work, Lizzie, yeah. Evidence in the past told me it wouldn't work. Yeah, try it and don't try again. Not having all the answers. I'm not worthy. I don't know how. I mean, if we knew how, Joe, it'd be like, it's just a to-do list, isn't it? I want to do something, tick it off. No growth, no expansion, no expression. Not good enough. Too old, that's a common one. You'll never be as young as you are today, right? What would my family say and think? Oh, beauty, Shoshana, so limiting for people. I didn't tell people my true goal until I was like much further on than I was. What will people think? Oh, Heather, that's my favorite. My God, I read something recently, and it said, if you could remove that one, right, and you could do anything, you'd absolutely could do something and pay no attention to what other people think. You just don't care what people think. What would you do? That's a fantastic question to ask yourself, because it opens you up completely. Because the things we don't do because of the judgment we think we'll experience at the hands of others is crazy. Am I too old? I'll be a 52-year-old rock star. And these things come up, right? They'll come up like a quiet voice in your head. They might come up like a big, loud voice. And if you're there setting a big goal, that's when this happens, So I work with people to try and get really, clear their mind of these limiting ideas to get to your true purpose and what you really want. And as they're doing it, then they tell me that as soon as they go there, their mind goes, but you can, but what about? But you haven't got enough money. Their voice that pops up is like 4 or 5 reasons why they can't, before they even let the goal hit the paper, before they even write it on the paper. So there's a few here about, am I good enough? I guess that's kind of a broad term could be a number of things. Good enough as a human, talented enough, is confident enough, intellectual enough, intelligent enough, knowledgeable enough. Lizzie Collin wants a divorce because you're not aligned with their money goals. It does, yeah, seems greedy. But that if money to us seems greedy, then we're working from the assumption that there's not enough to go around, because if you're going to take enough, then somebody else gets less. But actually there's more than enough abundance in the world to go around. That's the mindset we operate with. So when you're asking yourself these limiting beliefs, if we were stood together or sat together, I'd be asking you, if you said, I'm not good enough, what else did we say? Let's get the chat. Let's say there's a few that said, I'm too old. I mean, one thing you can ask yourself, like, just probe, is that an absolute truth? Is that an absolute truth? Because remember, we bandy around these terms, beliefs, paradigms. What is a belief? It's an idea that is programmed into your unique computer system that you are believing is a truth, a universal truth. And it's so solid and real and part of you that it's difficult to see beyond it until you start to look at them one by one and really show them up for what they are. They're just opinions that we can change. So what are we doing then? What are we doing through this process? And what do I work with people on? One of the many things, I work with people on the law of vibration, the law of attraction, which we talked about last week, goal setting, and then the system to kind of get out of your own way and achieve anything you want. And I don't say that lightly, because your mind, I mentioned that we're setting ourselves so limited, our ideas are so limited in their thinking, that even if you went deep, deep, deep and like said, I've got true massive potential, even then you probably still will be playing it a little bit safe based on, the confines within which most of us operate. So anything you can actually conceive, anything you create as a desire that comes from inside of you, you can absolutely have. There's no question about that, because there's a system between you of today, the goal that you want, and just stepping forward in the direction of it. and changing the paradigm. Those living the life, the top 1%ers, the top 3%ers, people achieving the things they want, they don't look at what other people say is the norm or the expectations of the cultural paradigms, cultural belief systems, their families' belief systems. They say, if they don't match what I want, or if they're not in harmony, I'm going to create my own. I'm going to believe this is possible. I'm going to believe I've got potential. I'm going to believe I can find the way once I've set this goal. And systematically then, what you're doing through this 6 weeks, and now you've got some of the information, then you can continue. You should continue this all the time, because you don't go, I've upgraded my belief system, great, I'm done. You will continue to expand, because that's why you're here, and you will continue to create new ideas with the new you. And I love this picture, because I like to think of it as this little red flower is like an idea that matches you of the future, the goal that you want, the person you want to become. And these yellow ones are the beliefs that are standing in your way. They're the ones that are going to say you're not young enough, you're not intelligent enough, you're not good enough, you're not bright enough. Who are you? Who am I to have that? That wasn't meant for me. That's meant for other people. That's meant for other people, that life, not for me. They're the yellow flowers. And what you're doing is, one by one, you're replacing those old pre-programmed ideas. They're pre-programmed. That's all they are. And if you put two people side by side together, no two programming is alike. So somebody mentioned Richard Branson. So I say somebody, I'm just scanning the chat as we go through. Richard Branson, for example, Lizzie. Imagine, you're you. I'm not replacing your intellect. I'm not replacing anything but the fact that instead of being born in the household you were born into, you were born into Richard Branson's household. Richard Branson is your father. Try that on for a minute. What do you think the programmed ideas that person would have about what's possible? So that alone should tell you that it's only the ideas that we're holding on to that are keeping us where we are and preventing us from having anything beyond what we've already got. But when you become aware of this, the lid's open, everything's wide open, and you can see that actually there's so much more I can be doing, so much more I can go for. I've got limitless potential. So if in any area you're kind of playing it safe, or you're setting goals that are just you settling, because most of us set goals based on the person we think we'll ever become. And how can you know? At whatever age you are now, if you're setting goals based on the person you think you'll ever become, you're playing it safe. Because if you set a goal that's big enough, then you're going to expand, change, and grow. If you set a goal that's based on you of today and how you think of yourself today, you're going to set a goal based on today. You're going to set a goal that involves playing it safe, and it's a goal based on who you think you'll become. But that's based on ideas of you of today. Does that make sense? Labouring that point a little bit. So we don't have new things for you to do. This is not about adding more and more and more things for you to do. The 6 things we're doing, we continue. And really the paradigm changing, the goal setting, that really sits in category number 6. It's you studying, it's being coached, it's being in a system, it's reading a book and continuously to progress your personal development. Remember these examples of people, Sarah Blakely, myself, listening to programs and being part of coaching programs where every day you're feeding your mind something new and reprogramming the ideas of the masses with the ideas of the people who are actually living the life on their terms. That's the difference. That's the absolute difference. And what happens is, while you're involved in this, your conscious awareness of these ideas, so now you'll leave this and you'll be thinking bigger. You should be, if I've done my job well enough. You'll be thinking bigger, you'll be thinking broader potential, and you'll be very consciously aware of it. It's like when you go on a fitness program or you go on a diet or it's January the 1st, and for a while you use your will, You use your willpower to focus on something. You keep it, what that means is you keep consciously focusing on it so that you will follow through on the thing you need to do to get the result you want. So while you're in this 6-week boot camp, that's what's happening. You've got massive conscious awareness. You're committing to it fully. You've got conscious focus on it. So every day, this is more at the top of your consciousness. But I don't want to be the voice of like doom and gloom. But once it's not at the top of your consciousness, anything that's not yet become a habit, you'll go back to being the way you were. Which is why I set this up as 6 weeks, long enough to form habits for getting out of bed, putting these processes in place. And if you keep doing this, you'll continue to feel the way you feel and add the study, add the personal development. Okay, I feel like I've done most of the, I have done all the talking. So I'm going to get the recording paused, and then we can look at the chat and answer any questions that have come up for people.